On March 29th, 2026, we witnessed Braylon Mullins hit one of the biggest shots in NCAA tournament history to send UConn onto the Final Four and take down Duke. This was truly a shot for the ages that we never saw coming. First of all, coming to this matchup, UConn versus Duke. Duke is the #1 seed. They're the top overall seed throughout the entire tournament. They're Duke. They have Cam Boozer, who is looking like he's probably going to be a top draft pick in this draft alongside other guys, and UConn was struggling. They were down by 19 points at one point, and they stormed all the way back in the second half. And when Braylon Mullins just pulled that bitch from the logo, Nick got the ball, pulled it from the logo, and called game, yeah, it was clear that UConn was here to stay. But they have to face against a team like Illinois, who has not really struggled so far this season, really, especially in the tournament. Now, I will say, UConn has had a really tough path. They had to face up against a Michigan State team and the Duke team, two great coaches, two great teams, and having to persevere through both those teams just to face another one, Illinois, is kind of a tough draw, especially when Illinois hasn't had anywhere of that type of competition so far this tournament. They faced up against Penn, then they had VCU, then they did play Houston, and Houston was a team that, I ain't gonna cap, I had to win the championship. I'll say it. But Illinois kicked their ass and absolutely embarrassed them. And then the following game, they played Iowa, who was on a Cinderella run of themselves, and they kicked their ass too. So Illinois really hasn't had much to go up against this tournament, but don't let that get fooled. Don't let that trick you. This Illinois team is legit. This Illinois team has looked like they have power, one of the best offenses throughout the entire nation. It has continued into this tournament, despite them being really like a fake international pro team. Do you know how many niggas on that roster played pro overseas? But I digress. But the other side of the bracket might feature not just the game of the tournament, not just the game of the year, possibly the game of the decade, with Arizona going against Michigan. These are the only two #1 seeds left in the tournament so far, and boy, do they look like #1 seeds. Arizona's looked dominant really ever since the conference tournament. I mean, every team that they've gone up against, they've absolutely dominated. Braden Burris is hit his stride right now. Cole Pete is looking like one of the best freshmen in the nation right now. And of course, you have Big 12 player of the year, Jaden Bradley. Arizona has dominated virtually everybody they've gone up against. Offensively, they can score you however they want. Braden Burris is over here shooting threes over people and looking like fucking crazy. And then defensively, they'll just lock you down. You're not going to be able to score and get nothing off on them. They went up against Darius Acuff. And Darius Acuff, I mean, shoot, he did the best he could do. But, I mean, nobody else was able to do much of anything else. Nobody else was able to do much of anything else. And it's not a knock against them. It really shows you how great this Arizona team is. But just like how they're very great, so is that Michigan team that they're going up against. A team that, I'm not going to cap. I know they're a #1 overall seed. I'm not trying to push no fake underdog story bullshit, but they have come into the tournament with a little chip on their shoulder. They lost in their championship, in their conference championship, to Purdue. So coming in the tournament, you kind of have to feel like they have a little something to prove. You were the #1 seed in your conference tournament. You have been the top team all season, but you sit up here and lose to Purdue, where, shoot, Braden Smith absolutely cooked them niggas. But regardless, they have something to prove, and they've been dominant all tournament long, beating the shit out of St. Louis, beating Alabama pretty comfortably as well. They have to go up against Arizona. And Arizona, honestly, is nowhere near the level of any of the other teams they played. I mean, Arizona has really, so far this tournament, looked like the best team in the nation. Better than Duke, better than Michigan, better than Florida, better than anyone else who has been playing well in this entire tournament. They've looked better than them. Arizona looks like they are well on the way to a comfy national championship appearance. After not being in the Final Four for 25 years, it looks like they can win the whole damn thing. The same thing on the other side with Illinois. Illinois has a lot of momentum right now with the offense and all the players on that team, and they're in the Final Four for the first time in 21 years. So two teams who haven't seen the Final Four since before I was born, they look like they will make it to the national championship, but unfortunately, things aren't that simple at all, especially when you take into account who they're playing. Now I get it. Everyone wants to talk about Michigan versus Arizona, and rightfully so. That game, I ain't gonna count, bro. I will be seated for that game because that is probably going to be the best game I've ever seen in my life for college basketball. But we have to talk about the first game of the day, which is none other than UConn versus Illinois. Now, I talked about it a little bit earlier with Illinois, but when you think of Illinois, just think about offense. They have King Wagler, who before the season, a lot of people were sleeping on, but he has now emerged into top 10 draft pick type of conversations, and he's looked like it though so far this tournament, orchestrating that entire offense. And this Illinois team is all about offense. They're literally the best offense throughout the entire fucking country. That's how they were able to beat Houston, who was one of the best defenses in the entire country, and they've looked virtually unbeatable. And how do they do this? Illinois just has a bunch of guys who can do stuff with the ball in their hands. Okay, you get the ball out of King Wagler's hands. Okay, cool. Now you have Stojakovic or anybody else on that team who's able to handle the ball, make a quick decision, shoot the ball. I don't know. This team on offense is just very sound, and they're very skilled, and they're very smart. It's very hard to beat a team where if you try to put too much pressure on them, they know exactly what to do with the ball, and they have a multitude of ways they can score. That's why they're the #1 offense in the fucking nation. And they can also defend as well. Like, don't sleep on their defense now. They can definitely hold their own on the other side of the court, but offense is where they hold their head. They can score the ball. They have a multitude of ways they can score the ball. They have a multitude of shooters. They can get to the basket. They can do whatever the fuck they want on offense, essentially. And it's going to be very hard for a UConn team that, I mean, they can defend, but they've never seen an offense like Illinois, especially not so far this tournament. But I will say, one thing about UConn has been tested so far this tournament. I mean, you face up against Duke, you go up against a team like Michigan State. Those are two of the best coaches, two of the best programs throughout the entire country. And it's hard to argue against that. I don't even have to throw stats at your way with UConn to let you know how good they are. They are simply more tested than Illinois. Illinois, honestly and truthfully, has not went up against that same level of competition so far this tournament. And it's not to their fault. Yeah, they played a team like Houston, but they're not a #1 overall seed in the tournament like Duke, and they're not a Tom Izzo-led team like Michigan State was. But UConn definitely will give Illinois a challenge that they really have not seen before. Now, the question is, can Illinois handle this? Can a lot of the ways that they score, can a lot of the ways that their offense operates, can this translate over to some success versus a team like UConn? Honestly, when it comes to the front court, I will say Illinois is outmatched. Terrace Reed Jr. I really been fucking up on this name so far. Y'all correct me down below in the comments. He has been pretty nice this tournament. Started off the tournament with a 30 and 20 game. He believed he had like 20 against Duke as well. He's been a force on the interior. He's been very key for them as he made some clutch free throws down the stretch in that Duke win. And honestly, I don't think Illinois has anyone that can match up against him. Now, that's not saying a lot. I don't think there are a lot of teams that have anything that can match up against him, but he gave Cam Boozer work. He's been giving every team that he's gone up against work, and it's something that he's been doing really all season. I think the only person I've actually seen slow him down was Big Zoob for St. John's, and Illinois is going to have to deal with that same problem. How can you contain Terrace Reed Jr.? Yeah, you can get the ball out of his hands, but they have a multitude of other people who can do things with the ball in their hands, who can score, and that UConn offense likes to go slow. They're methodical. They don't really like to rush to get their shots or anything of the sort. But they have some shooters. Karaban, he has a burner. We saw that against UCLA. And Braylon Mullins, I mean, I don't have to talk about Braylon Mullins. He just hit a fucking half-court shot against the #1 overall seed for the game. I don't have to speak about what Braylon Mullins is capable of beyond the arc, as well as the other players that they have on this team. And one thing about it, Dan Hurley is going to have his teams prep for success in this game. He is 17 and 3, I want to say, when they're like against the spread or some bullshit like that, some betting thing. Not a betting guy, y'all. Don't blame me. But Dan Hurley, he can have his teams ready in March. And I'm expecting the same thing to happen versus a team like Illinois, which is why, I'm not going to lie, this game is close. This is a game that I can honestly see going either way. Like Illinois, they haven't been here in over 20 years, and they have the team to be able to make it to the championship. And boy, I love to see this offense in the championship, even though half of their team could really be in the NBA right now as nice little bench players or six-men. But I have to take UConn. I can't really go up against Dan Hurley. He's starting to enter that realm for me where it's like he's one of those people you just don't bet against. His team is going to be ready to play. They just beat what was arguably the best team talent-wise in the entire tournament in Duke. So going up against a team like UConn is not going to be anything that they have not seen before. They're going to be ready for anything that Illinois has to throw up against them offensively, and I guarantee you this team is going to be coached up, they're going to be disciplined, and even if it's a close game, this is the type of team that can keep it close, that can pull it out, and can execute down the stretch like we saw versus a team like Duke. They're very elite defensively. They're fucking UConn. We all know what UConn comes with. Not to mention, UConn already beat Illinois by, I want to say, like 13 earlier in the season. So I'm not saying that's going to happen now. I think this Illinois team is completely different, and they're coming in with really a different type of momentum. That's the same reason I had UConn being Duke. Even with all that being said, give me UConn over Illinois. Now for the second matchup of the day, the matchup that I know everybody wants me to talk about is Arizona versus Michigan. Now when we're talking about Arizona, I don't have much to say, but let me roll off some stats to you guys. Arizona is number 5 in the country in points in the paint, averaging about 42 plus per game. They've led the nation in free throw attempts with nearly 20 points a game at the line. Jaden Bradley's the Big 12 Player of the Year, and he's a very good closer for this team. And the freshman trio of Pete, Burris, and brother, I don't want to fuck up your name, they're the first freshman trio with 50 plus points each in the Final Four since Anthony Davis's Kentucky squad in 2012, and that team won the title. And in the tournament, their wins have not been by less than double digits, not once. They beat Long Island, they beat Utah State, they handled Arkansas, they handled Purdue as well. This Arizona team, no matter who you put in front of them, have looked dominant. It'd be different if it looked like they were just beating up on teams that they just honestly were outmatched, like they didn't look as dominant. No, these are good teams and they look better than them. They look like genuinely the best team out there, and the other team is completely just outmatched. Like they're unfuckwittable, unmesswittable, whatever you're gonna say. They cannot be handled out there on the court. But if any team can try to handle them, it's going to be Michigan. Let me read off some stats from Michigan. Now Michigan's gonna have the best player on the court, which makes a big difference in college basketball. Yaxel Lindenberg. People are calling him the Dominican LeBron. He's first team All-American, and people are saying he might end up winning that Wooden Award. And after watching him, it looks like he should. He's improved his three-point shooting so far this year. He's been able to get to the basket. He's obviously an athletic freak. And this Michigan team, I mean, goodness gracious, it's not an over-reliance on him, but they definitely allow him to generate some offense and get some buckets, and he is able to execute down the line, and he's had some very nasty highlights so far throughout this tournament. Michigan is shooting 40% from 3 since the start of March. My goodness, what a better time to get hot from beyond the arc than fucking March, when you're going against Arizona, bro, they gonna let you have some of them threes. I mean, I don't know specifically what the game plan is, but they gonna let you have some of them threes. So if they can knock it down, it completely changes the game up, and it opens up some type of paint opportunities for a guy like a Damara and for Yaxel Lindenberg or the Dominican Braun, even though I feel kind of disrespectful saying that again. Now, some key things to know for this game is both teams like to get to the paint, and they like to score in the paint. They are both top 10 when it comes to paint points per game. It's a lot of P's. But with this being known, the edge is going to come for whoever can shoot the best from 3. And like I just said, Michigan is on an absolute fucking burner from beyond the arc so far this March. But don't let that fool you. Arizona still has the ability to shoot the 3 and make some shots from beyond the arc, especially with a guy like Braden Burris playing out of his fucking mind so far this March. I mean, it's honestly insane. But one thing about Michigan, they have the edge in 3-pointers, but they turn that ball up. Michigan is 257th in the country in turnovers at 12.2 per game. And I'm going to tell you right now, if they cough that bitch up versus Arizona, Arizona will make them pay. Arizona will convert, because Arizona's just too smart and too good of a team, especially defensively, to not A, force turnovers, and B, go up on the other side and force some points off of those turnovers. And if that happens, Michigan, you will be in trouble very, very early on. But I don't know if that's going to happen. Michigan just looks like so goddamn good. They look amazing. In all the games that they've played, similar to Arizona, they have looked like the better team, but the difference is Michigan, I wouldn't say has faced up against any team that kind of blows you away. I think out of St. Louis, out of Alabama, I really can't remember who else they've played, but just take my credit on those first 2 teams. None of these wins have really blown me away. Like, Michigan obviously has played well and they look like the better team, but they do look like a little vulnerable. They do look like they can be taken down versus Arizona, but Arizona just looks fucking unstoppable. They look like they are the best team in the country, like playing on some shit where it's like, you cannot beat us. We're better than you. Every team that they've gone up against, they've looked better than, and they have looked like the best team at this point in the season, which is why with Braden Burris playing like how he is, Koa Pete playing like how he is, knowing they got Jaden Bradley, I think I have to give Arizona the edge. Michigan is the favorite right now, and my team, my pick might flip, guys. I'm an honest guy. My pick might flip, but I'm saying it right now to you guys on camera. Give me Arizona beating Michigan, and what I think will be a fucking classic. I think Arizona takes it, although it'd be a slim lead, might be a game winner, might go into overtime, might go into a few overtimes. I don't know, but I think the Arizona Wildcats get it done. So yes, if you want a visual, here are the two teams. I can't pull up my bracket. If I show you guys my bracket, actually, let me show y'all my bracket right quick. Yeah, so this is my bracket, and up here, hey, I actually did pretty fucking good. I actually had a pretty good top half of my bracket, but then you get down here, and the South absolutely just hogged me. Absolutely just fucked me over right here. So yeah, my champion was Houston, so I really can't show y'all that, but here's what I will say. You have UConn versus Illinois, you have Arizona versus Michigan. I am taking UConn to beat Illinois and Arizona to beat Michigan, and your championship will be UConn versus Arizona. And I know we just talked about classics, but I'm telling you right now, a UConn versus Arizona matchup in the championship, I mean, shit, I know that Arizona-Michigan game is going to be good, but boy, oh boy, would that UConn versus Arizona game be good. But we're not even there yet, so I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself. If I am tweaking, y'all let me know who y'all have in the Final Four. Who are your picks? Why are they your picks? And yeah, all that jazz that comes with commenting on who you have winning down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like it and subscribe to the channel. But that's all I have. Like I said, Arizona versus UConn in the Natty. If you disagree, leave it down below. But that's all I got. And until next time, peace.